Let me ask you this: when they're in the lab and they have the DNA that they're testing, are they aware of whose DNA this is, of what case this is, where I guess a bias could come into play, where one could be watching the news, one could maybe even have some sort of personal connection, at times to a case, and you'd want to manipulate it some way. You just human selfishness, if you will. Or is this, or are these? Is this information? Is it just numbers basically coming in? This is case X45, whatever. You don't really have any idea what the hell you're doing or who you're doing it for, but you're doing it. Or do they have that knowledge?
Well, you suggested there might be personal connections. Those would be extremely rare, right?
Sure.
Where, that I would just take that off the table
Okay.
to begin with. But it is extremely common for analysts, particularly technical leaders, but any analyst to be privy to lots of what we in the business refer to domain irrelevant information. So information associated with an investigation that they really just don't need to know
Mhm.
to be able to generate a DNA profile. Things like, hey, the victim was afraid of this suspect. Well, you don't need to know that.
Mhm.
Or the suspect is a crip or a blood. You
Okay.
don't need to know that.
Yeah.
You don't use different test tubes or pipettes or anything
Yeah.
for crips than you do for bloods. And yet that sort of information is extremely commonly shared with analysts. Um, because I think, well, I don't know, there are a couple of reasons why it might be. One is that you can afford to pay analysts less if they think what they're doing is really important work and exciting. They can go home at night and say, yeah, I only got paid, whatever, $50 for the work I did today, but hey, Marge, my wife, Marge, check it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you hear about that rapist on the news? I'm the one who got the results. I mean, there's some extra sizzle that comes from
Mhm.
knowing that you're involved with that. But that's that's sort of benign. I think less benign is this idea that we're part of a team, that the law enforcement, the prosecutors, the crime lab people, they're all pulling together.
Mhm.
And there's no question but that a prosecutor's job is to secure a conviction.
Yeah.
And so that's what the head of the team wants. That's what the head of the team needs me to help them to deliver. And so,
Yeah, there's a
you
real human aspect that ends up into this, and personality and emotions more than one thinks. One thinks DNA lab. We think almost very black and white. Here's the results. Here's you can't argue with it. It is what it is. But yeah, if you get it going in there and you have someone who, oh, it's this case or this person is involved in this gang or whatever information you can glean off of that sheet that you have that can put predispositions in your mind of who you think this person is or what you think this person is when you're just trying to find the exact scientific results if this is even the person that we're talking about.
And,
uh
let's make sure that you and your listeners understand too, it doesn't need to be a conscious bias.
mhm.
Even a subconscious bias can give rise to all sorts of problems. It might, I would hope, and I think it's fair to say that it's very rare that an analyst would say, I'm going to really make sure that this guy gets convicted. So I'm going to, do
Yeah.
what I have to do that. But even still, in the back of their mind, if they're thinking, "Oh no, hey, this test result doesn't look right. The control doesn't look quite right." Um, I know that I see in these other tests that it looks like the person of interest is a contributor. So the problem isn't with the test result. The problem is with the control. I mean, like a subliminal sort of thing where they're trying to evaluate where the problem is. That control, the sentry, is raising an alarm, perhaps.
Yeah.
They choose to disregard the alarm subconsciously because everything else is consistent with what it is the prosecution's theory of the case is.
Hey, it's Tony Brueski. If you like the podcast, be sure to like, subscribe, and press that bell so you don't miss any of our updates on the cases we're following for you right here at the Hidden Killers podcast from True Crime Today. And thanks